Hey everyone, this is David Caldwell with the Direction Podcast. Today we're talking to my friend Sandra Hendricks about building teams, finding your purpose, and kind of all things real estate and being a real estate professional towards the end of the episode. So without further ado, enjoy.
Tell you, I'm Sandra Hendricks. I'm from Mexico City. Let me brag about David is my coach, and we're colleagues as well. I work for Tom Ferry. I'm a coach at Tom Ferry, and I have been a coach since 2016. And I work as a COO in Coldwell Banker Mexico. We run 80 offices and 1,000 agents, and we run our own service team, marketing team, blah, blah, blah. And I've been in real estate for 12 years, but entrepreneur all my life. And I'm a huge believer in leadership.
Awesome. Well, and that's what we were talking about. We were talking about these foundational concepts of leadership. And I told you that you had to stop so we could record because it was so good. So why don't we start over, because you were schooling me right before we got onto this.
Okay. So what we were talking about is I'm a huge believer, and Tom has been tripling down on the idea that the real estate of the future is teams. Why? Because it's a lot more efficient to scale, optimize, and standardize with teams and get like all the way through the 8 levels of performance, right? But sometimes when we're in a market like this and we are in real estate, where actually it's like the gold rush. Everybody wants to be in real estate because they feel they're going to make a lot of money. But in such a hot market, in such a competitive market, a real estate agent has to be triple skillful. I always say that it's like on a scale of difficulty, it's building a rocket to the moon and then being a real estate agent. Right? Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about teams, we really need to have a clear vision as the leader of the team to us where we want to go, right? Yeah. Like yesterday, I saw something very interesting. You wrote that you wanted to grow to 30 people in your team. Mm-hmm. What would be your vision for those 30 people in your team?
So what I realized about myself is that I am better helping other people achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. So whether that's assisting with a client and like the putting together a strategy, or with someone on my team, helping them execute their vision, that's the best place for me. It's not necessarily wearing the 15 different hats, 20 hats, 30 hats that a lot of realtors like to wear. Exactly. So when I think about, my vision for myself first is to help others. And then the vision for the team is to create this great experience and take the stress off their shoulders of selling and create some certainty in a transaction where there isn't always certainty. So I want to make sure that for the agents on my team, that I'm just helping them perform at a higher level, because that actually helps me achieve the vision I have for myself. And then obviously through scale and more people, I'm able to earn more income, which gets the team to its goal. And I've always said with my team, I don't care if you want to make 40,000 or 250,000 or anything and above. My job's just to help you get to that number you're trying to achieve the fastest, easiest way where you're happy going to work every day.
Exactly. So that's an amazing vision, right? So in the book that I was telling you about, that I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game, that I think everybody should read it. And mainly if you're entering real estate or if you're trying to build a team, where he says that we need to have a vision, a just cause, because your just cause will drive your performance. Your just cause has to be intimately linked to your purpose. Like that's why we start with why, right? And when you have a just cause, and advancing that just cause will get you to your vision. Like if we come into real estate and we say, well, it's like the gold rush in real estate right now, and everybody's going to become a millionaire, and everybody's going to real estate school and coming out and saying, oh, And now, how do I do it? Like, this is why we're pushing teams, right? And if we're solo agents, we need to scale and optimize. So Simon brought a super, I would say, foundational position in a team that's called the Chief Visionary Officer, who would be above the CEO, the CFO, and the CEO. Because he says, as the position in the C-level says, they already know what they have to do, but who is executing on the vision, right? So the vision is what advances the just cause. So when the just cause is only placed on profit, on the spreadsheet, on how much money I have to report to the shareholders, that becomes a shareholder culture. And it doesn't become a culture of service and contribution, right? It doesn't become a culture of how will I do it better? Who do I need to be to do it better, right? And in that places where we have to understand what kind of team, what kind of structure, and who is going to be working each position. In his book, Dan Sullivan, The Who, Not How, he says we need to start with who's in order to implement the how, which is the exact same thing that Simon Sinek says, right? Yeah. If you have, for example, not you, but let's say that we want to start a team, we're growing, blah, 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 and we bring the real estate agent in and we just push him into the arena without the proper vision, the proper training, the proper just cause. It's going to cause a lot of frustration and we're not going to have the retention that we're looking for, right?
Absolutely.
So we as leaders are in charge of the people who will take care of the people who will take care of the client. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the chain.
Yeah. So let's go back to like, maybe I'm not even starting a team. What if I'm just an agent getting into the business and I'm starting to recognize that, man, this is really hard to go at it on my own, but maybe I don't quite have that vision yet. How would you coach someone through creating a vision?
Well, and I have a lot of new agents that are coming into the business, like totally new out of real estate school into this market. And sometimes no budget, no leads, and we need to get started, right? So the first thing is, why are you in this business? What is it that you are looking for in this business? And what is your just cause? Because if you just get started making the calls without really having a real motivation, you're not going to get out of bed. So we first have to work on the mindset. I'm a huge mindset fan, like huge. So Tom always talks about your why, right? When I first started as a coaching client, I've been a coaching client with Tom Ferry for 8 years now. And my first coach said, what's your why? And I said, I want a team of 100 super top producers, rock stars that will dominate over the world. And he said, that's BS. And I'm like, oh, why? And he was like, because that really won't motivate your just cause. What's your just cause? And then he said, think of something that when you bring it back to you, you feel goosebumps every time. You want to cry. You're going to do whatever you have to do, where discipline will motivate you to do the thing and not say, I'm not motivated, I'm not going to do it, right? When they say discipline overrides motivation, that's what we have to do. So I said, okay, the moment when my son, who is my, comes with his college diploma, and that was, he needed 5 years to go. And he said, okay, so now let's start planning, reverse engineering what you need to do today to get to those 5 years. So we created a smart plan year by year, month by month. But you know what that did to me? It gave me total clarity of what I needed to do each year, each month, each quarter, each week, each day, each hour. And whenever I felt like it was like, ugh, I just closed my eyes and I remembered. I have clients that tell me and they start crying like, I want to get out of debt. I want to buy my mother a house. I totally need to get ready for retirement, and they're 58 years old or 57 or 60. So that will give them the vision, the just cause of how to do it. And then we reverse engineer from there.
Yeah, I agree. That's so important in the coaching that I would do with clients, and we did it, is what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? We hear Tom tell us that, he's reviewing his 20-year plan all the time. And I remember in my life, one of my first goals was, I just want to be able to have a family where I can keep the lights on. And then I was like, after I keep the lights on, well, then I could do these things for my kids. And, it's my 5-year plan keeps expanding, right? I have a milestone birthday 2 years from now at 40. And there's an income goal I've been reaching towards, which is putting pressure on me to scale, right? But these bigger things we want to do in our life as well, when we reverse engineer the plan, it tells us what we should be doing in our business. So I love it.
Because if we just every day we just open our eyes and we go like, oh, I have to go at this again. And I don't really want to do it. And it's so hard. And I wrote 18 offers and no one got accepted. And that was my only lead. I'm just going to roll over and go back to bed. Like Tom Bill, you posted the other day that the most frustrated people are the ones that don't execute. Right?
Yeah.
So execution has to be at the top of our priorities. And before we can even do that, it's mindset. Yeah. So that's where we get the meds, right?
I have this observation too about high performers is they don't really live in the day-to-day. They live in that vision, right? They live in the future, and they don't let the day-to-day outcomes interfere with what they're going to do the next day, right? Hey, I wrote 18 offers and they didn't get accepted. It doesn't matter, because it's the consistency and activity that helps me achieve any goal, right?
Exactly.
And there's always tons of no's before yeses.
Exactly. So if I'm a new agent, I would say we have to look at this business like a freeway, a 6-lane freeway, right? Not like a 1-lane back road, right? Because if we see it like a 1-lane back road and something goes wrong, we're going to go to the side and then we don't have a car anymore, right? But if you have several lead generation activities going on at the same time, we know someone or something might go wrong, but we can pick up if we know our numbers, if we know what we're doing, if we know what we're working.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move it back to when we were talking about big teams, right?
Right.
Well, what are breaking points that you see in people's businesses where you go, hey, you have to go make this hire? Or what's a breaking point where someone's made a bunch of hires and they don't work? Maybe we can talk about both of those things.
Because they don't really know who they need to hire, and they just sell their passion about the business, and they hire anybody that will buy that passion, and they go home motivated. But when they come to the office, it's like, oh, welcome, here's the onboarding. And this is Sandra, and she's going to help you go. And see, and the thing is, it can't happen like that.
Yeah.
We need to take the time to build the team. And I got this from Treasure Davis. It's like, it's so important to create stickiness in the culture.
Yeah.
Because if we have a culture that's sticky, we will get engagement. Yeah. And that includes yes or yes as a company having a vision to sell, right? Like, what's the most important thing? Having a vision to sell. Because if I don't hire the right person, if I don't ask the right questions, if I don't have a job description, I am going to hire for the sake of hiring. And then I'll have a high attrition, and that'll cost me a lot of money and frustration. So we cannot grow. I cannot say, okay, this year I'm a solo agent and I want 30 people in my team. And I'm like, oh, and how will that work for you? Like, do you really know what to do? And we need to work the foundation, the 8 levels of performance. Where are you here? Where are you there? What do we need to build to welcome that team? And to have a team, this is my super mantra when somebody is hiring. Hire somebody smarter than you. Okay? So if you hire somebody smarter than you, David, what's going to happen?
Going to grow.
They're going to get you, right?
Yeah, you're going to grow.
And if they're smarter than you, then you're going to be able to push them. And of course, every agent in the planet has to read this book and understand what's the personality type of the person that they are hiring.
Yeah. Well, let's take a step back, because I had this drunk monkey for a long time in my business. And even when I started coaching, one of my goals with coaching was becoming coach was skill acquisition and to get over some of my drunk monkeys, which was I can't coach or hire really great people, right? That was something that I thought for a long time. Like I had to, if I was going to hire someone who was at my level or higher, I had to give them a really good deal. That's how I felt. Or I just felt like, no, those people are outside my realm, right? And now I love when I'm interviewing someone where I could ask them the question, like, you can do this on your own, right? So why would you want to do it with me, right? It's one of my favorite questions to ask in an interview, because I have been able to hire now some really amazing people. It took me years to get over that. So I know there's hopefully someone watching this that's experiencing that. I think that's common. How would you coach someone through that? Like, how do you hire someone who's better than you?
Because you have to have a reputation first. You need to have some kind of social proof so that people can follow you and understand what you are doing. You necessarily need to build the rails for systems, operations, and processes. And like we have talked about this a lot, have marketing attraction and understanding the most important asset that a real estate agent can own right now is building their brand with a unique selling proposition. So if nobody knows me, if I'm a total stranger and I want to hire somebody better than me, that's going to be complicated unless I honestly am a super hot rock star agent and the signs in the street call for me, but that's the same awareness, right?
Yeah. And I think like it goes back to your leadership abilities. Like I recognize in my skill set, I'm good at selling real estate. You know, when I sold real estate full time, I do, 50 units a year. I was good at selling real estate. I'm better at helping others. My passion is helping others. So I can go get someone who's just as good at me as selling real estate and be like, hey, let me support you. Let me help you build this plan. That was a big aha for me, that people would say yes to that. And it wasn't you didn't say production once in there. You said reputation, you said brand, you said systems. None of it was about production. For me, it was always about, like, I thought it had to be about production. I have to do this much production, then I have to give them this much production. I think teams are about leadership, not leads. And I think the industry thinks that teams are about leads and not leadership. But teams that survive, that last a long time, that thrive, they are about leadership, and they're about systems and processes and brands. And I see this in my coaching with some of the teams that I coach. We hit this breaking point because they're going too fast. They do the foundational things for systems and leadership. They get on the freeway, they get into sixth gear, they sell a ton of homes, and then it breaks, right? Because they didn't constantly go back and work on those things. But the problem was they actually went too fast. They were selling a ton of homes and making a ton of money. But those things constantly have to be worked on. And that's going back to Simon Sinek, that's the infinite game, right? It's recognizing that the game's never over. And we can't get complacent, and real estate agent of the future, all the things that you referenced, is continuing to work on those things. So
it's, for example, I have a client that came to me not able to speak English in a market in Miami, which is totally competitive. And he was new. So we had to create a very specific strategy for him. And that included, we need to see which is your niche, what's your community, how are we going to breathe life into that community? How will you build credibility for that community? And what will be your momentum keeper? That's a non-negotiable, and it's making calls.
Yeah.
Right now, you cannot get over making calls. Yeah. We started slow at the beginning, and then he was totally overwhelmed. His why was to integrate his family into his team, but he was horrible with time management. So we had to work. You cannot implement time management as if you were going to a brunch in where there's like 1,000 things to eat. You have to break it into meals and into snacks and bites so that you can start getting achievement.
Yeah.
The first bite is understanding your time, your database, your CRM, and making the calls. And then there's sweat equity versus check equity, and you need to understand the system or two. You know which system I'm a total advocate for, and start working the lists. So what we did is that we started a farm that we knew was a niche, and we started breathing life into that farm consistently. And he consistently started making the calls. Yeah. I would text him at 5 a.m. and go, okay, it's go time. Are you in the gym? And he was like, okay, yes. Okay, show me the picture. So we started going. Yeah. And like 2 weeks ago, I was like, are you doing your calls? He said, no, coach. I am so busy that I'm not doing the calls. And I said, that's a killer of momentum in Q2.
Yeah.
So right now, a lot of agents are thinking that they can go to an ISA and have the ISA do the calls that they don't want to make. That's a capital sin right now. Mm-hmm. Because everybody is being called by agents that have brand awareness, that are multi-channeling, that are building brand, that have brand attraction, like you and I talked. Mm-hmm. And if you just go and hire an ISA to do the calls that you don't want to do, yep, they're not going to get one single appointment.
Yeah. And so let's bring this back even with teams, right? And hiring and delegating, right? Or hiring a marketing company to do my marketing. I mean, we've talked about this before where it's like, well, what if I just hired this person to do all my social media? You can only delegate a certain percentage of it because people have to see you. What if I hire a sales manager to run my team? Well, we've seen in some businesses, there's a cost of absentee leadership. You still have to show up and lead. Hey, what if I delegate 90% of my prospecting out to this ISA? At some point, you still have to get on the phone. You know, I talk with my coaching clients a lot about how following up with real estate leads is like dating. Uh-huh. Right? Like you have to call them enough so they're still interested and know that you're interested. You can't call them too much because then you're kind of clingy and people aren't going to like you, right? But if I was in love with someone, I couldn't delegate all my follow-up to my assistant. But I could probably have my assistant send flowers and no one would be the wiser, right? Or I could have my assistant prompt me to send a note. Or maybe even from time to time, my assistant could set up a lunch, right? But if I'm not in there and maintaining the relationship's never going to blossom. But I think there's this in with your vision, right? In with the type of business that you want to run, you have to make a decision at some point of how much am I even going to delegate? You know, and I don't think people think about that enough. You know, going back to the ISA, I'm just going to have an ISA do all my prospecting. That almost never works.
No. because the clients in this market will think if you're not making the call to make me fall in love with you, how are you going to run the process of selling my home?
Yeah.
The way that I see it is there's like 80% of all those tasks that we can delegate successfully if we know what to delegate. Yeah. So first you need to know what's the structure of your company. Are you a solo agent? What do you need to be taken off your hands? What do you need? Where are you? In that book of Dan Sullivan, The Who Not How, it says, if you're procrastinating too much, it's not because you're lazy. It is because you don't know how to do it, and it absorbs so much of your energy that you don't do it.
Yeah. And let's stop there for a second. I love the Tony Robbins quote, complexity is the enemy of execution. Complexity is the enemy of execution, right?
Right.
So often in this business or any other business, people want to go from novice to mastery, right? I've never done it. How do I do it the best way? And you can't. You just have to get started and figure it out along the way, because if you do it consistently, you get better. But so many people, they get stuck in what you're saying. They start procrastinating because they want to do it at the highest level first. And you can't start out at the highest level. I wanted to do this interview without my windows here and with a nice thing in the background. And like, preferably I'd be a little bit more handsome and like my face wouldn't be as fat, but like, we just got to get going if we're going to do this. Right. So,
right.
I think all the time about procrastination, it's people are just stuck in that complexity, just like you said, but they're trying to start out at mastery instead of recognizing that they're a novice and just get started and get better.
That's why the 8 levels of performance are so impressive, because in the actual coaching to the 8 levels of performance, the first level should take you at least 2 years to complete.
So what is the first level? Because we've talked about it a lot.
The first level would be you have to, have your why, have your mission, have your vision. Start with I love the workshop for goal setting with Tom. Yep. And then from them, we have to have a business plan.
Yep.
And that business plan, a lot of people say, no, I don't need a business plan. What a business plan is an awareness creator, yep. Right?
Yeah.
Because that way you'll start breaking it down, and then you can say, okay, if in the first year, this is a sprint, not a marathon. If in the first year I can accomplish 8 transactions, mm-hmm. How would this be for me? And I have to understand my niche. What do I, everything, how many conversations, After I have that done, I have to work with my database. Like what Yvonne Arnold says, the beams of the starship, right?
Yep.
And we need to start working with lead generation, yep. And start working being top of mind. Your database, ABCs of building your database is fundamental. Yep. In one of the I forgot her name, but she says that sometimes we don't do what we're supposed to do because of 2 important things: emotional blocks and limiting beliefs. Okay. So 80% of the agents that come here say, I don't like to do calls. I don't want to disturb people. I don't want to come across as commission breath. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to talk to my database. But that's the lowest hanging fruit. So that depends on how you approach your database. Yeah. One of my most important trainings is when you start off in real estate, you don't ask for business. You give first so that you get business.
Yeah, you earn it.
You earn it, right? So
you provide value.
You provide value. Yeah. So I have an amazing client that came out of real estate school, and the next week she started. 0 experience, but she has the most amazing personality. And I said, I don't care what you think. I don't care if you like it or not. I saw your social media. You don't have one video. I like your social media. Let's get started with video right now. 30 videos in 30 days for 30 seconds. Make it beautiful. Go. And she was impressive. Yeah. And then she said, okay, what now? We got the 10 for buy sell. We kept going. She understood the market. She made it. We're 5 months into coaching, and she was already approached by one of our biggest rock star clients she said, I would like to work with this person. And I said, call her. And she was like, no way. And I'm like, if you don't call her, who will call her? Somebody else will get the job. Build up the confidence. Yeah. We had built a book of business with all her social media. That's what she liked. That's what the rock star liked. And she already joined a rock star team.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have a new guy on my team, and he was on another team before, and he got nothing. No attention, no calls. They showed him how to open a lockbox, is basically what he said. It never got him business cards. And he almost didn't want to interview with me because we're with the same company, the other agent. And I was like, well, look, not all teams are the same, right? So like the expectation on my team is that you're going to hit your goals. And if that's not enough to get you in for the interview, don't come, right? And he showed up and he's great, like wanted to hire him immediately. He's 2 weeks in the business. We focused on what do we say? How do we say it? How do we provide value? What's the consumer want? That was like really the first 2 trainings that we've done. And he's converted three online leads now, I think in 2 weeks, that he's out writing offers for. And he's 24 years old. I mean, he gets it, right? He gets how to provide value. He gets the hustle and the work that you have to put in. And it's made me think about, even on my own team, some of the people that sometimes give excuses, right? Like the leads aren't good. And it made me think like, is everyone asking the right question? Is everyone coming from the same place that my new guy is, right? And he has that hustle and fire, but he's asking the right questions, right? When we're reviewing, hey, what do you say? What do you say here? And I'm looking at how he's reaching out to people. He's asking great questions, and he's coming from service, and he's not afraid to let you know he's in real estate, right? So he's dating these leads really well, right? He's staying. So yeah.
And the law of reciprocity, that's everything, right? Yeah. Like right now I have a multi-channel strategy with a lot of my clients where we have to cold call, but cold calling is extremely challenging right now because everybody's doing it. Yeah. So in order for a person to get the phone from you, you had to do previous work. And I tell them this shouldn't take long because we have a lot of tools. Listing mastery is to die for. And the system that I am a huge advocate for. And you create a multi-channel and it takes you 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's what we do. We create the email, we have the video, we have the marketing materials, we have the script, you break the QR code, the Calendly link, email. And then you're going to have a CSV file, put that CSV file, create an in-stream, a Facebook ad lead form.
That sounds really overwhelming. Is it really as overwhelming as you just said?
No, because if you teach them to that with a super easy way of doing it, and you give them the materials, as a leader, you should have the materials. And then that's why I tell them you get yourself a VA that understands marketing. Yeah. So that she can send out the email, you give her the video, you create the marketing piece. Yeah. You have the little bundle in advance, right? And then that same video, that same script, that same QR code, that same whatever, you send it through an SMS. Yeah. And that same, you create a door hanger and you go and leave it.
Yeah.
And then, but when you leave the door hanger, leave it with a flower or something. People will call. They will reciprocate.
Get attention. I have a coaching client who's another coach that I coach. And he's been sending people brownies. So they register for an automated home value. and he sends him a brownie. And at first I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like you're sending brownies, right? But people are calling him and thanking him for the brownies, right? Or now he's like the brownie guy, and it's got him a ton of business, and it's cheap attention. Most importantly, it's different, right? He looks different, asking great questions. But yeah, he's standing out. And I asked why, hey, that sounds so overwhelming, right? Because I think that's what people hear. They hear like 6, 7 things, and they're like, I don't even have an email newsletter, right? And that's where you either take the time to do it, or you hire someone where that's what they love to do. That's their specialty. They can create an email newsletter in an afternoon, and you work with them to make sure that email's your vision. I have a coaching client. I've been harassing her for, I think, a year to do a weekly email newsletter. And she hired someone to do it. And I'm emailing her. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Like this little paragraph you put in is amazing. And she's like, I didn't even write it. My gal did, right? But she made the right hire. She set the expectation with her. It's on brand, right? And now it's $300 a month for 4 email newsletters that go out every Wednesday consistently. I mean, great branding. It's going to be a great way to nurture people and set herself apart. That email gives her a place to now distribute other content she's creating, like we're talking about. Like you said, it's not that difficult. It's just taking the time actually to sit down and do it, or sitting down, going back to the beginning, creating a team, having a vision, right? What am I willing to pay someone to do this task for me, so I can focus on what's truly important in my business and the things that move me forward, the things that move me towards that person I want to be 5 years from now.
But going back to, I'm an agent, I'm a new agent, I don't have any money, I don't have any leads. Everybody has leads. I mean, they're here and they're in your Facebook.
Yeah.
And we can start getting that organized using the Ford method, right?
What's the Ford method for people that know?
Family, occupation, recreational dreams, right? And the conversation will always go back to you. Oh, and David, how are you doing? Right? Well, I'm super happy in real estate. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Well, what if I haven't called them in a while? Aren't they going to not want to hear from me?
Oh, they will definitely want to hear from you. Like, hey, what I would do is that I would go to their Facebook, and I would, if they're one of those forgotten friends, they will, if you scroll all the list, they will be all the way down, and start every day picking the 5 from the last, the 5, 4, 3, 2, the last going forward, and start engaging with their posts. And then it will get the conversation. It will start going with the conversation, right? And that's an easy way of doing it. Another way I used to do it was have we met postcard. It was my business card. It was like a usual big postcard with a huge picture of me. Everybody says, it looks like you're hitting on people. And I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. And it said, have we met? Yeah. And it had a little thing on what about your house. And then on the back, always use the back of the postcards to provide value. Yeah. So I knew which area I was farming. You have to throw a big net. And I used to go to the 3 Starbucks around my office. Yeah. And I would memorize the names of the baristas. So and I would give them great tips. So when I came in, I was noticeable. Yeah. Right. And I would always start a conversation with the person behind me, and I would buy them coffee and give them my card. That was amazing. And people will remember you because they were like,
you're being who you are. Like when I was first getting to know you, or like what everyone says about you is, she's great, she's so kind, she's so genuine, right? You're just being that out in the business.
But we're all like that.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And we just
Yeah, I said hopefully we're all like that.
Well, almost all, but it's okay. Do I want to struggle to bring food for my family, or will I have an amazing smile every morning when I wake up and do the thing and have the power, right?
Yep.
And
we have a rule. We have a rule on our team that if someone's an asshole to us, we just delete them from the database, right? Like that's it. That's all we have to do is press delete, and then go on and find other people that we can help. That's it.
When that happens, once one of the girls, I used to have a very big team, but I concentrated on a SEAL team, and I have a very SEAL team of 3 agents that work my referrals and theirs. And she called me one Saturday and she was like in tears, and she was like, "This guy is so horrible and so mean, and it's a big transaction, but I can't manage it." And I said, "Fire him."
Yeah.
And she was, "Are you sure? Can I fire him?" And I said, "Yes. I want you to put your energy and your focus in something else, and not because he's going to be horrible through the whole transaction."
Yeah.
Right? So that's important. So in order so that we can get it like down, if you're a new agent, get that database working, start making the calls, perhaps make 1 week of preparation for those emails, for those marketing materials, get the guts to do a video. Honestly, I've made it the multi-channel strategy. It doesn't take you more than 1 day to prepare if you do it intentionally, because it's the same script, the same video, everything happening at the same time. And get yourself a wonderful cake and drop it off. People will say, "Thank you for dropping the cake," and you say, "I would love to meet with you."
Yeah.
And from there, start building the systems, the operations, and the processes. If you want to have you're going to start a team, we'll have to start everywhere. Buyer agent, showing agent, but you need to generate enough business. And of course, as a leader of a small team, you have to do the same thing that you're asking them to do.
Agreed. And if you're thinking of starting a team and don't know where to start, I will give a plug for coaching, whether it's with our coaching organization or someone else. And reading books by Simon Sinek and all these other great authors that Sandra has talked about. You have to start learning about leadership if you want to be a leadership. I love John Maxwell. We haven't talked about John Maxwell yet. I mean, anything by John Maxwell is incredible when it comes to building a team and leadership. So because we're wrapping up, right? We talked about a lot of stuff: teams, database, building brand, why, vision. What would be the one thing you were giving, if this was a coaching call and you were giving someone a homework assignment to work on over the next week until you saw them next week? What would you want someone to take from this call and to go implement into their business next week, if there was just one thing?
Okay, first I would super congratulate them on getting a coach.
Okay.
There's nothing in life you will achieve if you don't have a coach. I have 4 coaches myself. Mm-hmm. And second thing is knowing that coaching is a long-term business. Mm-hmm. It's not a thing that I'm going to be here in 2 months and I'm going to drop. It's long-term.
So what's up there for? You have 4 coaches.
Oh, I have you. Mm-hmm. I have a performance coach. I have an energy coach, and I have a therapist.
How long have you been in coaching?
Since 2000, and it's been 12 years since I've been in coaching.
Okay. So I got my first coach in 2008, Carrie Craig, was my first coach. But then I have all these other people in my life too that I call like my real estate dad, like Steve Schwab. He's like my real estate dad, or Paul Johnson, who I call my real estate big brother, which, he definitely has been a coach for me many times. So yeah, I mean, having a coach, finding people in your life to be a coach. Like, I'd like to say Simon Sinek is my mentor, even though he doesn't know I exist. Like, I've listened to him a ton. So anyway, I wanted to see how long you were doing it. So keep going.
And so the one assignment would be, I would categorize it in 2 because of the personality styles. Yeah. If it's somebody that really doesn't want to call their database, they need to get a database program where they can buy database from.
Yep.
And I would definitely use listing mastery and start multi-channeling at least 2 channels.
Yeah.
If I don't have an issue working my sphere, I would definitely say start off for our next call. If it's in 2 weeks, I want you to have a list of 200 people, complete list, names, phone, address, email. And that's from your phone, and a list from people in your Facebook that we're going to start calling, and the scripts.
You don't know. Yeah. And look, every business, whether it's a real estate business or a grocery store, it's about client acquisition and client retention, right? So, hey, can we make this person a client, even if they don't transact with us for 10 years, they could still give us a referral, right? I think in real estate, we think really short-sighted. Can we get these people to start thinking about us when they think about real estate? Dean Ayers, who's been one of my coaches, he said something really simple, probably the best thing he ever said on a coaching call when I was coaching with him, which was people need reminded, right? And that's what you're talking about is having this database, building this database, and reminding people that we can serve them and that we could help them, right? And everyone needs reminded. We all need reminders.
It's like with this I close, every agent after 3 months in coaching should definitely have a funnel follow-up for top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, thank you. You're the best.
Thank you, David. You are the absolute best.
So thanks for tuning in. If you want to see more videos or listen to more podcasts like this, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.